Welcome to From Embers to Excellence, a podcast that explores the many facets of leadership from the perspectives of some amazing people. We discuss the triumphs and failures that have shaped our lives and our leadership philosophies. It isn't whether we fail that defines us, but when we do fail, how do we respond? Leaders dust off the ashes and use their failures as fuel to work harder and as lessons to come back wiser and stronger, more resilient, more determined, and more committed to excellence. And now, here is your host, Dave Hollenbach.
Today, I'm talking with Marlon Moye-Moore. He's a former linebacker, fullback from the AFL. He played for the Predators for 9 seasons. He got his bachelor's degree in sports management and marketing from University of Maryland, where he also was a standout linebacker. He currently works for Orange County Fire Rescue as a fairly new firefighter. You also own your own business where you're coaching and mentoring kids. Playing football and exercising and all that stuff.
Yeah, we used to do. I used to coach up until I had my first child, and that kind of took away a lot of that time. And that's where I met a lot of the kids. Where we train them in sport-specific training, whatever position they play, speed improvement, strength, all that types of stuff, agility, everything that they need. So we still do a little bit of it now, but medic school really took first place in all of that. So I'm just doing like twice a week now, nothing major.
What's the name of your gym?
So the gym we sold last July, but the company was Team Moye-Moore. So Just my team and then my first and last name. So yeah, from there we had a ton of kids come out of there. A couple kids that's in college now. A couple kids. One actually like my maybe second or third kid I ever trained just got picked up by the Titans. Nick Westbrook out of Lake Mary High School. He went to Indiana University. So one of the most recent was Tyler Davis down at Clemson right now. So he plays defensive tackle there. He was on the all-freshman team last year. So
wow.
Yeah, but like I said, medic school takes up a lot. So pretty much now it's that 10 to 16 range, 17. So I don't do much of anything else, like all the personal training. I don't do any more because, it's just so much other stuff going on with the fire service.
You actually went out into the field last year.
January 14th, 2019.
And were you a non-cert?
I was a non-cert. Yep, I went through the whole process. It was crazy because I was going to go to Daytona State and pay my way through. I had no idea that Seminole was right down the street to go through fire school. So my one of my mentors was at the barbershop with another guy who worked for Orange County. He was just talking about his son. And the other guy was like, "Yeah, man, tell your son and tell who he's talking about me to go online, fill out an interest form, all that good stuff." So I did it, started going to mentoring, which was I played football for like 24 years since I was like 11. And hands down, that first workout was easily the hardest workout I ever done before. No weights, all body weight. Granted, I was actually working out a lot then, so I was fasting. I didn't realize you need some energy to come in there.
Played linebacker at University of Maryland, and you said that you started off as a wide receiver there and
Yeah. I was an All-American wide receiver coming out of high school. I was so we had the Elite 11 was DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So they take the best 11 offensive guys, best 11 defensive guys. They give you, this award after you graduate. After you graduate. And I was on the offensive side of it. I got to Maryland in August. By April, I was like 180, 186, 187 when I got there. Man, by April of that next year, I was 247. So, yeah, man. So, like, all my life, I played sports all year round. So I never trained before.
Oh,
Until I got to college, I never lifted weight.
Pretty impressive. Not many 40-year-olds start their career in firefighting, at such a late
age.
Yeah. But I mean, I've worked with you. You're extremely fit. One of the hardest workers that I've ever worked with. Very dedicated. I paid attention to you a lot when you came to my battalion, and I was extremely impressed by you from day one. And then getting to know you and learning a little bit about your background, getting your bachelor's degree from University of Maryland in sports management and marketing. I'm guessing you had a scholarship there to play football. You started off as a wide receiver and then ended up transitioning to linebacker. Did you go into the AFL right out of college?
Yeah, I did. My junior year, I got in a little bit of trouble. So I think that was one reason that I had to go the AFL route. But yeah, I was at that point. I was working for a courier service. One of the quarterbacks on our team, brother, owned a courier service, and so I was delivering, I don't know, all types of packages all throughout the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area. And one day I was just pumping gas, and Jay Gruden, the brother of John Gruden, I think Jay's the offensive coordinator for the Jaguars now. He called me up and was like, "Hey man, you want to come play football in Florida?" And I was like, I don't know. I called my agent. My agent said, it's probably like the only option you have right now. And then that week I got like 6 more calls from different teams. And I just kind of weighed the options. He talked about how nice it was here. And I'd only been to Florida once. And that's when we played in the Orange Bowl. And I loved it here. A bunch of guys from Florida went to the University of Maryland. My actual roommate was from Orlando, played at Dr. Phillips. And I was talking to those guys, and they was like, man, it's nice down here. The weather's beautiful. And freaking, 16 years later, here I go.
Where'd you grow up at?
I grew up in a small steel mill town called Aliquippa, Pennsylvania. It's about 15 miles west of Pittsburgh, right on the Allegheny River. Then my grandfather worked in the steel mill. My grandmother worked in the steel mill. It's about, I say it's a population about 3,000 maybe. The high school has like 300 people in it. So,
good.
Yeah. So I grew up there, and my mom and dad, just like a lot of families have their situations. And my dad moved to DC when I was 11. And so when I was right around 11 or 12, I moved with him and moved to DC. And that's how I got to the Maryland area. Parents got back together when I graduated high school. They've been together ever since. They've been married for, I don't know, 28 years or something like that. And so, yeah, that's how I got to Maryland and got to stay there. I love that place. It's beautiful up there. You get all 4 seasons. A lot of my friends are still there.
Nice. So in addition to working as a firefighter, going to paramedic school, you're also running a business where you're coaching kids. What's the name of your business?
Team Moye-Moore.
And how long have you been operating?
I've been in business since 2009. Nice. So the Arena Football League went in the dark for 1 year. So the league actually went bankrupt in 2010. So at that point, I had zero income coming in. And I had started, so I collected unemployment for a little bit, and I'm a worker, so I couldn't just sit around. And literally, I was coaching the kids, so I would wake up in the morning, 8 or so, work out, so about 10, take care of my body, get all the stuff I need to get done, take a nap, and then wake up at 5 o'clock, drive to Lake Mary, coach a team. And one of the kids' dad asked me, can I work with him? And so I worked with the kid, and he scored 2 touchdowns the next week. Had zero to do with me. They just gave him the ball on the 1 yard line. He ran it in both times. And so his dad's like, oh yeah, he's been working with this guy Marlon. He's been doing this, he's been doing that. And then everybody's like, who is he? So because I coached the youngest team in the Pop Warner. So by the time everybody really got out to the field, we were done and gone. And so they was like, yeah, this guy plays arena football, went to University of Maryland, whatever. So I started working with a couple kids kind of individually. One of the parents had suggested, it was like, hey, you ever thought about doing a camp? And you could do a speed and agility camp for, a week long during the summer, so parents can come drop the kids off. We do what we do, and they go home. And so I did it. In the first one, I think we had like 80 kids there. And so I was like, oh man, I wasn't expecting that. So after that, all the parents were like, do you do any one-on-one training? Do you do any group training? I don't, but I can. And I was honestly just doing it because it was my team I coached, and I wanted to make my team better. And it really expanded from there. All word of mouth. I never really did any advertising. Everything was, hey, my son needs training, and then whoever's son would go and say, tell his friends, and then he'd bring 4 kids with him, and it just kept snowballing. Then I would start training their little brothers, and then their cousins, and it just kept, it kept going and getting bigger and bigger until it was probably like that year that a summer before I started in the fire service. I was just getting so tired. Like, I was playing football. I was up at 5 a.m. I would leave, go get treatment, get my body taken care of, get a massage, go out to practice, We'll finish up. We'll practice about 12. Come back in, take care of my body again because I wasn't getting any younger. Take a nap for an hour and a half, get to the gym at 3 for the first group of high school kids. The second group of high school kids will come in at 4. Then I will have a group of like grade school, middle school kids. They would come in at 5:30. And then from there, if anybody wanted personal training or whatever, I would usually do that from 6:30 to whenever the last person, sometimes 9, whatever. And I was just getting so burned out. I was not, my health wasn't great because I wasn't eating properly. I was still working out because I was still running with the kids and stuff like that. And I would lift with like some of my clients and whatnot. But my body it was just breaking down. And so I had to slow down a little bit. So I stopped training regular, like general people and just strictly athletes. And it's so much of a hustle to do it. You have to be ready for the next group of kids that's coming. My sports was mainly lacrosse and football. Lacrosse season was, kids would come in and really train a lot from June to January. Football would train a lot from January to June, or to July, right before camp start. You had to every year consistently keep those guys coming. So it was, it was up and down, and I just got, honestly, I love it. I really, truly enjoy it. It would be something I would do for free, not for, I actually do sometimes, there's many times I literally driving down the street, see a bunch of kids in the park doing stuff. And I keep a bag of cones and hurdles and stuff. And I would get out like 20 minutes and just do some stuff with some kids, get back in the car and keep going. I really, really, truly enjoy helping kids become better. That kind of stems back from when I was small. training now with athletes is completely different than when I was a kid. Training when I was a kid was going out and playing hide and go seek or playing tag, or it'd be 12 of us on a bike at 13 and we're going different neighborhoods, so like we played all day long. We were outside all day long, running, jumping, and really, you were really kind of training. You really were, you didn't know, but you were. Once I got to high school, I guess it's that training kind of started going a different route and getting more into the sports specific. I couldn't afford it. My parents couldn't pay, 50, 60, 70, depending on who you go to, $100 an hour to get me trained twice a week. I had people actually take me to camps, take me places. Mr. Smith, I'll never forget, he was one of the guys who coached me when I was young. Yeah, I needed to it was actually a weigh-in. And I was always a real skinny kid, but I was like kind of broad, but really had no fat growing up. I needed to lose like 2 pounds. And so for like 2 weeks, we was running me and I was losing the weight, but like he literally, like we trained. We just ran routes. We worked on blocking drills. We did our sprints and stuff at the end to the conditioning wise, but he literally just trained me, and it just did it free. Picked me up, took me out there, took me back home. If I was hungry afterwards, fed me. I had so many people in my life at a young age do those things for me that now, I just have this affinity to help out young athletes, and it actually, all of that coming together correlates in the fire service too.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what led you to pursue a career in the fire service?
So taking it back to 2004 when I got here. 2004, I was playing football and I dislocated my knee. So I tore my PCL, LCL, polyfield tendon, and I had like some meniscus issues. So reconstructive surgery. Doctor said, "Hey, you plan on playing football again?" Yes. Or if you want to work a desk job, he's like, if you want to work a desk job, we'll do this surgery. If you want to go play football, we'll do another surgery and be more aggressive. So I did the surgery to play again. He's like, you probably won't run the same if you can come back at all. And so I was like, all right, whatever. 8 months later, I was playing again. It wasn't full strength, but just that determination and drive. So I met a guy, Steve DeLuca, at that time, and that's how I started coaching the kids, and everything went from there. But I was coaching a kid, CJ M. Wally. CJ and Wally has a dad, Charlie and Wally. So CJ Charlie Jr., who's a truck lieutenant at Seminole. I think it's at 12. I think that's where he is. He used to always tell me, "Man, you'll be a great firefighter. You should come be a firefighter." And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know about that. And then one day he was like, "Yeah, we'll have you forcing the door." And all I can see is like TV, flames flickering out the door. I got on just like pants and a t-shirt, shouldering the door down, running in like a hero. No SCBA, none of that. 'Cause I just didn't know. And I was like, "Charlie, like you had me until then." And I was like, "No, I'm good. That's not what I want to do in my life." So, so he was on me all the time, like all the time. This is, like I said, this is way back in like 2005. I then met a chief. I think she's a chief at EMS over in Orlando. I actually started training her. She was telling me the same thing. Then I met another guy who's division chief up there in Deltona, Tim Martin. Yeah, all these people were in my gym too. So we used to talk every day. He was like, "Man, you'll be a good firefighter," And I was like, whatever. Then I actually did some research on it and was like, "Man, this is a good deal." You look at all of the good stuff. You can go be a hero. You can help people out. Good retirement. A bunch of other things that comes along with the job, with the career. Like I said, I researched it. and started looking into things and started looking at it. And what I realized, the medical aspect of it, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that that's what we did. That's 90% of the job. Like that part, the schooling and still having to learn, that was the biggest thing that drew me to it. Obviously, yeah, you want to be a hero and get cats out the trees and all the rest of that, but the stereotypical things. But yeah, so I was gonna go and do it myself and just pay, because I don't know if I came through the non-cert program with Orange County. So I was just gonna go pay myself, go to school. One of my mentors knew somebody in Orange County. Knew they were at the barbershop together, and he was talking about his son going into the fire service. I was telling him, what to do, and he said, "Hey, I got another guy that I mentor that he was looking into getting into it too." Man, he gave me a call later after he left the barbershop. It's like, "Hey, Orange County has this non-cert program where they'll pay for you to go, and they'll pay for all your schooling and everything else." And so I signed up, put my interest form in. They start sending me emails about mentoring and all the rest of the stuff. So I started going to mentoring, did my fire team, CPAT, killed the CPAT test. I mean, I was in pretty good shape. So I think I might have had the fastest time that day.
For those that don't know, the CPAT is the Candidate Physical Agility Test that fire departments require. A lot of fire departments require candidates for the department to have a score, whether they go and take the test at a fire academy or if they do the test for that specific fire department. That score, it's a standardized test where there's certain there's a certain time that you've got to
10 minutes 20 seconds. You got to do it within 10 minutes 20 seconds.
Why don't just for those listening, why don't you tell what that CPAT involves?
So the CPAT, it has a bunch of fire-related activities. So it's a test. You have 10 minutes and 20 seconds to complete the test. You start off with a 20-second warm-up and then a 3-minute workout on the Stairmaster. So I think it was set to like 68 steps a minute or something like that. So you're moving, and you got 75 pounds on you, which represents all of your bunker gear, your bunker boots, your helmet, gloves, your SCBA. While you're on the Stairmaster, you got a 50-pound vest with two 12.5-pound weights strapped to you. So you got to climb the Stairmaster for 3 minutes. You get off the Stairmaster. They take the 12-pound weights off you. So you still now simulating that you have your gear on, just no air pack. Then you got to go and do a hose drag, which is 30 meters, a 30-minute hose drag, 30-meter, hose drag. Then you pull the drag hose back into you. You go around, pick up 2 sets of tools, which is both of our saws, our chainsaw and our K12 saw. So you get that. You walk that same 30 meters, come around the barrel. After you come back from there, you raise a ladder, raise it, bring it down. Then you do a forcible entry with a sledgehammer where you're simulating that you're forcing a door open or breaking through a concrete wall or whatever the task may be at that time. Then you do a search, which you're on your hands and knees and you go through a maze and you got to go in one side, come out the other side, but it has a bunch of obstacles within it. After that, you do a dummy drag, which is another same 30 meters, which is 150 pounds. You drag the dummy, bring it up, bring it back, and then you do a breach and pull, which simulates you actually checking for extension on a fire through drywall. So you do 4 rounds of 5 breaches and 4 pulls. So, and then once you do that, you finish your test. But it was a beast. It was a tough test. But the physical aspect of the job is what I really like. No matter how in shape you think you are, there's gonna be something that's gonna kick your butt. Just, to talk about that, just 2 days ago we had a fire, and it was in a trailer, but the trailer was literally a trailer that they built a house around. So it looks like a house when you come in, but you get in and you're actually in a trailer. So, I'm trying to pull ceiling and I get the drywall and insulation down. And now I'm hitting the top and I'm like, literally, like, what is this I'm hitting? I didn't know what it was. I'm just putting holes in it, but I couldn't get it down. I didn't know what it was. And it was a metal roof. So, I mean, I'm in there, I'm taxed. I'm in there working to get it. Eventually, we got a hole in there and got ventilation and got to the fire. Like I said, I was literally just training that night before we had the fire, feeling good, and then I go in there and like, man, like I need to train harder. Yeah, so that's the CPAP. They'll just test your physical ability. Can you do the job?
One of the things that early on when you showed up to Station 81, we sat in my office and we talked. One of the things that was very apparent to me was it's seemingly a natural ability to lead. The way that you carry yourself, but I know from my experience that a person's ability to lead is just a accumulation of their life's experiences and people that mentored them, and a combination of a lot of factors. But if you grow up with different circumstances, it's not going to come as naturally, you know what I mean? So you are, and this is my impression of you from the very beginning, it's not a lead by, here, this is what you need to do. It's a lead by example. I never got the impression that you were working or doing certain tasks to make an impression on anybody. It was just who you are. Your work ethic is not that common. And I would imagine part of that comes from parents working in the steel mill.
Yeah, my grandparents.
Your grandparents. Well,
yeah.
Talking with a lot of different people and just my own personal experience in sports, I know how sports, being on a team, helps people develop those leadership skills and that mindset of what I do matters, because the team is, as a whole, is more important than me.
Sure.
And that's my impression of you. And I'm guessing that a lot of that comes from years being in sports, playing football. I was wondering if you could share maybe some of your personal mentors and how they help shape who you are.
You said a couple things you said is absolutely true in my life, and it started literally how the growing up. Like I didn't grow up until I went and lived with my dad. I don't know if many people saw this movie, but the first movie that we sat down and watched was Boys in the Hood. So that's kind of how Aliquippa was. I mean, it's a steel mill town, but it's the wild, wild west. I mean, guys just, not just, but I mean, they shot a police officer right in front of my grandmother's house as the kids getting off the bus, point blank range, just walked up to them. I mean, they just had a drug ring not too long ago where they shut down like arrested like 10 people. So it's a rough. You have to be tough to grow up in Aliquippa. If you're not, people are not tough to grow up out of there. And I had it was just me. I'm 10 years older than my brothers and sisters. So I was out there literally playing by myself. And, this is no joke. I remember it was, I don't know, were they brothers? I know it was two brothers and it was cousins. It was like 5 of them that lived in the house or the apartment, 5 apartments down from me. And we used to always go to the basketball court. And I was a natural athlete. And there was times where I was like, all right, Now, I'm going to beat these dudes on the basketball court. But I was like, but when I beat them, I know I got to fight one of them. Like, I know because they're just going to be mad because it's just me and I'm on the team with other people. And I'm like, I know I got to fight one of them. So I fought a lot growing up. And out of course, I fought a ton. And there's a lot of times I had to fight their cousin too because it was just me. And it's like I said, it's a real close knit town. But it all started, like I said, when I watched Boys in the Hood. I went to live with my dad, and I didn't understand why he wanted me to watch that movie. Like I like the movie because I like Ricky and I like the whole story and whatever. But it was more so about Furious Styles. It was more about teaching your son responsibility. You can still do what you want to do. You can still hang out, but you can't put yourself in certain situations, and you have to be responsible for all of the things that you do. And that's really what he was trying to instill in me. They had one scene where Furious had told his son, clean a bathtub, and that tub had been cleaned for like a year. It was disgusting. And that's how my dad used to do me. Cleaning was his way of giving structure, I would say. He did everything that he asked me to do, he did once. And he did it. And then after he finished, he asked me, do you have any questions on how it should be done? And I say no. And that was it. So if it wasn't done that way, he already gave me an opportunity to ask a question and say, can you help me with the situation? Then I was in trouble for it. So he gave me structure. Like that was the biggest thing. Structure he gave me from the beginning. The next thing on top of that is he gave me accountability and responsibility. And so what he was saying is everything you do, every action you do, you have to be accountable for that action. The second part to being accountable for that action, you have to be responsible for the consequence that's going to come with that action, whether that consequence be a good consequence or a bad consequence. You have to be able to accept it. And you got to accept both of them the same way. So again, told you I fought a lot, and that carried over when I got to DC because I was a new dude. I was different because, in DC, the swag is completely different than Pennsylvania. So we speak differently. So for example, a soda in Pennsylvania is called a pop. So I would say stuff and the kids had no clue what I was talking about. I would get in trouble in school or whatever. And, he'll come home and ask me, say, so what happened in school? And I'll say, well, Johnny did X, Y, and Z. No, what'd you do? No, Johnny did. No, I didn't ask what Johnny did. I asked what you do. Well, I punched Johnny in the face. All right. Now we understand that you did something. Now we can talk about everything else. Now, why did you punch me in the face? Because X, Y, and Z. And then we go through it. But he wanted me to realize first that your actions affects you. And whatever you do, you you can't be mad at that. So, I've done things in my life, and one of my defense mechanisms to pointing the blame is because I had to figure out where was my downfall in that. So if I could have avoided my downfall, then now I can figure out the situation. So those were like the two biggest things. And then back to what you're talking about, the work ethic within the station and whatnot. Like football played that huge role because, your first year playing on the team, you got to prove your worth. You become a freshman in high school, you got to prove your worth again. You become a freshman in college, you got to prove your worth again. You become a rookie playing professional ball, you got to prove your worth again. What I understood, and just like you just talked about the team and in the whole, is that this is my role in the team. So if I don't play my role within the team, then the team is going to be let down. And things just as simple as coffee in the morning, dishes being out the dishwasher, my role was to make sure that when you got up or when everybody else got up, they got coffee. If my role wasn't played, then now we get a call, we get whatever the case may be. Now somebody who just woke up who really enjoyed getting coffee is like, dang, I couldn't get my coffee. Now their day could be start off whatever. I don't know, but I'm just giving a scenario. Or the dishes, we get that late call and now we gone, and then now it's 8:30, we get back and I'm ready to go, and then I forget, and now B shift got to take the dishes out, so now I made more work for them. Just simple things like that. But that was my role as a rookie, and those were things like that are things that I really hope that I don't ever forget. To ever forget that I was a rookie before. I needed to. Those are things I need to do, which is why a big reason why I love 81. I would say maybe like my first. It's definitely within the first month. Adam Garcia, who's a Squad 4 firefighter now, was like mopping, and I was hustling, getting my stuff done. And I went and grabbed the mop from him, and he said, over here, everybody pull their own weight. And then you look over, is lieutenants are sweeping, firefighters and mopping, people, everybody's working together, meaning that everybody does a chore, even though it's my job to initiate and keep the bulk of this stuff going. That was one of the things that really, even though it's small, but to me, small things in life is the things that stick out. The big stuff, I can see that, the big stuff those things are supposed to happen. But it's the small things in life that really that really affects me. And rookies come in now, and I'm always helping them with dishes and whatever. They're like, "Oh, thank you." I'm like, "Dude, like, this is what you're supposed to do. It's not you're not supposed to do it all yourself." But that's just me going on my tangent about how much I do enjoy the station because of the simple things like that. There's a lot of other things because it's extremely fun there, and we have so much knowledge. So much knowledge. They're always coaching you up or training and showing you how to do something better, or just showing you how to do something in general. From the times that I saw you and doing the things around the station, again, that was my role. And my role is growing now differently because now I'm in medic school. So now, or I'm done with medic school and checked off of that. So now I'm going to be, a role that's going to be a little different on scene, where now patient care is a little bit more important rather than me listening to the chief complaint and hooking the patient up. Now my role is going to change to more directing and giving differential diagnosis and, getting to the hospital and making sure that the citizens are well taken care of when we get on scene. There's a work, it will never leave me. Like that's just what I do. Like I'm a worker, which I absolutely love doing. Just a story about that. And if I give them cool with it, you're good with it, Chief.
Yeah,
So
man.
okay, yeah. So we're at Children's Safety Village, and which during orientation is like, besides Brick Day, which is that's legit. It's a full day of hose line management. You're getting all of them. You're getting the front jump. You're getting, both cross lays. You're getting you're getting the green line from the back. You bringing out the mercury monitor. Like you that day you're working. So I ended up going first and finishing my stuff first, just because I wanted to get it done, not because I worked harder than anybody. But after it was over, I'm like, hey, I'm just sitting here under the tent, kind of chilling. So me and another guy, Shabazz, we was like, yo, let's get some work in. So you stretch all of the hoses all the way out, and you hit a target. So, we got our front jump line is 150 feet. One of the cross lays was 150, and another one was 200, and then we had 150 on our back. They would finish, and when they finished, we would just drag all the hose back in. And they would drag it in, line it up for the people, and we just kept, me and him just kept doing it. And we literally was doing it just like to work out, kind of. But he was a line leader, I was a class leader, or he was a squad leader, I was a class leader. And Dan Bernard, one of the guys, squad one, I think, A shift. Like, really, truly respect that guy. One of the guys, I really respect him. He was like, "Hey man, you guys should be dictating, not dictating, but what's the word? Like
Directing.
directing, yeah, directing rather than working." And we was like, "It's all good, man. Like we work. It ain't no big deal." And so we kept doing it, and then he literally made us like stop and go get other people to do it. Only I think because like, who wants to drag 150 for the charge hose back? Nobody really wants to do that. So I think he was more so saying get other people to help do this rather than you just doing it. But like I said, we just like working was never an issue. Doing work was never an issue. And even, we talked about age before. Being 40, I take pride in us doing drills, and the new guys is 22, 23, can't hang. And it's not even it is a fire related drill, but it really comes into effort and heart. Are you gonna stop, or you're not gonna stop? So I take pride in beating those guys. It was kind of
That's
like my thing in football, where I was like, I can still play football as long as I can dunk. When I can't dunk anymore, that means I'm not explosive anymore. So football is now, I shouldn't be playing anymore. But because now I'm just filling the slot for somebody. But yeah, but that was, that day. If I would get to a point like in break day that I was like, oh my God, I need a break. That pushes me more to continue to get better. Like, I'm built for power and short bursts, not long distance running. And another time in orientation, Lieutenant Afrifa had said, he had Tomas Renez is one of the guys. Like, this dude can just run. He's like 6 foot, like 170 pounds. He just got long stride, and he can just run. He always led our runs. And Lieutenant Afrifa said, "Hey, we're not gonna slow down for you, because then that messes him up. We want everybody to get up to where he is." And I used to try, but like I just can't run like that. I was 250 pounds. Like, I wasn't built to run like that. And I mean, he's like a 6.5 minute mile. And I used to try, but I just couldn't. But it used to frustrate me so much that I couldn't. So I just kept trying and kept trying and kept trying. Never really caught up with him. But that's the type of work stuff that makes me want to get better if I can't do it, or if I wasn't successful at it.
You're the guy I want forcing a door or breaching a wall.
Yeah, man. I really like, that is something that I've never done. C shift, when we both were probies, he was saying that him and his lieutenant had to go through a center block wall and they were breaching a wall with a sledgehammer. And I was like, yo, that's something that I would love to do that, but I never had the chance to do that yet.
Yeah.
So just, I mean, you can just break stuff up, like, no regard, but yeah, I do. I love the door. I love breaching doors too. So
Something that you said, it was actually when you were talking about your father, him teaching you accountability and responsibility. One of the things that you said really struck me. I read a lot. I read
mm,
a lot of leadership books, and it got to the point where I kept on reading the same themes. And I read something that attributed certain leadership traits and self-leadership to Stoic philosophy. I decided to start reading up on Stoic philosophy, and then, as I've researched it, I've found that a lot of professional teams bring in coaches or people to talk to the team
mm,
about philosophy and mindset and that sort of thing.
yeah.
And a lot of it is linked directly to Stoic philosophy. One of the things that I found very interesting is a stoic action. One of the things that they recommend, or one of these ancient Stoic philosophers recommended, was the beginning of each day you sit down and you write out things that you want to keep in the front of your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the mindset that you're going to tackle your day with.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of the day, you write down, okay, this is where I achieved what I set out to do. This is where I failed to achieve what I set out to do. These are things that I can do better in the future. And it's a way of sort of balancing the ledger, to kind of put the day behind you.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next morning you start fresh. And so that's one of the things that I started doing a while back. And I've written down a lot of stuff. I wrote down the 4 virtues of Stoicism: wisdom, temperance, courage, and justice. And wisdom is, they define it as knowing what matters are within my control and which are not. What that's referring to is the only thing that we really have control over is our own actions,
Yeah.
and how we respond to the actions and influence of others. So, and life events that happen, there's so many things that are out of our control.
Mm-hmm.
If we approach events in that way and realize that, okay, this occurred, I had no control over those events.
Yeah.
This played out the way it was going to play out. Now it's up to me to respond in a way that I can be proud of. And
Exactly.
and I've learned a lot of valuable lessons failing at that.
Yeah,
But
me too.
one of the things that I wrote, and this is January of this year. I wrote Amor Fati, which is Latin for the love of fate. And I followed that with, you will be better for this. Embrace it as the best thing that has happened to you. Realize and embrace those things out of your control, and know with all your heart that you are strong enough to endure, outlast, conquer, and come back stronger than ever before. Had this not happened, you would not be launched in this direction. You must visualize all the paths laid out ahead of you. Find the one that offers the greatest challenges. Charge the enemy with the knowledge you are unconquerable. You will suffer, but rise from the ashes stronger. And I wanted to share that with you because it was just, how you told that story about your father and responsibility for your actions. And you don't worry about what everybody else is doing. It's how you respond to those events
Mm-hmm.
that really define who you are for the rest of the world. Nobody else defines who you are. It's you,
Right.
And I just, how you carry yourself and the example that you set for even senior firefighters is, it was really awesome to work with you, man. And
I appreciate it.
so one thing that I'd like to talk to, just to maybe take a side road here for a second. You've been on the department for a year, like running calls. Well, you've been
like a year and a half. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've been running calls. You're at one of the busiest stations in the county. I know you've floated around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You've been exposed to a lot of stuff. Out of all the calls that you've run so far, Can you think of one that is going to stick with you for the rest of your life?
Well, we had those two people burn up the same week in a car. Well, both were in car accidents and burned alive in the same week. Probably the one we did the recovery, the recovery on, because we were the ones that actually went in and took the remains. You know, we had to actually extricate them and take the remains out of the car. That one, that smell, like you'll never, I never smelled anything like that before. And so, you know, we had on, we had on our, we had level B suits on. So, yeah, that smell that I had, I'll never, and you can literally see him trying to get out the car, you know. So that's probably one of them. You know, people ask me, you know, hey, you know, what's the worst call you had or whatever. Probably that one.
How do you situate that in your mind?
Um, I really honestly don't think about it until a question like this happens. But while I was doing it, it was 100% like, this is my job. You know, this is what I have to do. And so because I had to do that, maybe I couldn't process, you know, actually what just happened to this person, somebody's, you know, maybe dad, brother, son, uncle, cousin. Um, but it was my job, you know, and that's one thing that I've understood so far, that like, this is the job. And there's some things you'll see that's not going to be so good. There's going to be some things that you're going to see that's going to be awesome. But it was just like you said, like, I can't, like, it was nothing else that I can do to make that situation a better situation. So it's easier, not easy, but it's easier for me to recognize that. And be like, it's nothing else I can do. So, you know, let's just do the job and get it done. And, you know, do what the medical examiner needed us to do, and, you know, get back to the station, shower up, and go run some more calls.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but there's not a lot for me. There's not a lot that freaks me out, but smells will get me.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Smells will get me.
Working at Station 81, working with all the special ops guys.
Yeah.
Who would you say has had the most influence on you?
Man, that, you know what, it's levels to that question. And I'll give the first level is Lieutenant Sloan, Lucas Sloan. I mean, as a person, that's a guy that you want to be like. Like, I've known him for a year and a half, and I've gotten sad twice in my life when another man like left my life. The first one was Coach Wally Yake at Maryland, who, like, again, you know, I didn't know anything about football or whatever. I really didn't know anything about football. I just knew that's the football, go tackle it. Football's coming to me, catch it. Like, you know, he taught me the game of football. And then we got a new linebackers coach, and he moved to outside linebackers, and it hurt for him not to be my coach anymore. And the second time was Lieutenant Sloan, when he just transferred, and now we got Michael Fournette, Lieutenant Michael Fernandez, who is a stand-up, awesome, you know, squad guy. Well, not even squad. He's special operations. He does it all. But like that, it kind of affected me, you know, because he was somebody that I can go to and ask him about my personal life. What do you think about this? And I don't ask people questions. You know, I'm not big in saying, hey, especially about my life, you know, but I trust his judgment and his words would he would give me the correct advice on things, you know, and that was the biggest thing, that I knew that going to ask him, understand that you're gonna get an honest answer back. So if you're not ready for the honest answer, don't go ask him. So those are the types of things from that, or even from the simple fact of, LT, who should I call for this situation? You know, like I know that I can call him and he's gonna respond back to me. So definitely that was number one on the list. Our engineer, Sandy Santos, another worker. You know, people know history and whatever, but a guy to come in and work like that, 6:30, he's there. He might not pull the engine out because the other engineer doesn't have it out yet, but he's checking out everything else. 7:30, he's ready to go. He taught me a phrase that we use. It's called play defense. And what that means is if we jump in the call at 7:15 and we need the saws or we need the power unit or we need whatever, we know that it's ready to go.
Yeah.
We know that. We went on call with one particular unit and their power unit didn't start up. And he pulled it like 3 times. And I was like, yo, go get ours. I know ours is going to work on the first pull because I know I do it. I work it out every day. I pull it every day and check it out every day. He taught me that aspect of the job of this is how you're supposed to do your job. And I float the other stations and I've floated the other stations and people sometimes look at me a little different and I'm like, this is just what we do. Like this is it. Like I don't know a different way. If I don't check something out, it bothers me that I didn't do it because I'm thinking, what if it don't work? And I saw Adam actually, get assigned to the squad. So that's why I say it's kind of levels of where we are. And I saw him get assigned. So I saw the work he put in to get there. And now he's there and how on scene now he is. We got to run a few calls with Squad 4. So, and then you still got our lieutenant now. I haven't worked with him a lot, but I worked with him a lot when he was on Squad 4, when I was at 81 all the time, not floating, and just the knowledge that he has of the job. And like I can't leave out Jose and Lieutenant Udine. Like those guys are the whole station. Like I would never leave 81. I don't think I ever leave 81 because like it's just we just got a good solid crew there.
Yeah.
And then you talk about levels. Going to a new level. Our medic Dan Cohen, like nothing bothers that dude. It's 3 a.m. He looked at MDC. MDC says whatever it says. I think we can handle this engine. Y'all go ahead and go back to sleep. Or we get there. Oh, no, y'all go ahead and cancel it. He's leaving East. And somebody's calling his first dude. He's challenging it. Like nobody's running a call on his first dude. He runs his own calls. So all that's what I say. It's a lot of levels to how I've been affected by guys there. And so you just take a little bit from everybody, and try to mold my career to how I want it to be by taking it, whether it be the good things or bad things, whatever it is. So I hope that I want to give you too much information.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Okay.
I'm guessing that you probably have aspirations to go through some of the special ops classes, maybe get.
Yeah. I keep saying that that when I get to work, I'm gonna go do X, Y, and Z. But 81, you don't make plans; you just do stuff. Because if you make plans, the calls are gonna say something completely different. You'll never get to do it. So yeah, I know that the guy that was a probationary guy right before me, he had just finished his ropes. And so I'm thinking VMR is coming up. So when I go to work tomorrow, I am going to check. Because I need to talk to squad and just ask them kind of which direction is the best way to go with classes and the rest of that. Those are knowledge that I just don't have yet. I literally have been consumed with medical for the last year. And so I'm just now starting to get back in that flow.
I just interviewed Garrett Winkowski, who has spent bulk of his career in special ops. And I asked him to give some advice to aspiring firefighters what advice he would give. And the advice that he gave was, first you take VMR, and the next class you take is ropes. Whether you're gonna be on a truck company or a squad, those two classes translate into so many usable skills just from a firefighter's position, having extensive knowledge on how to extricate somebody from a vehicle or some kind of machinery accidents, something like that. And if you have that knowledge, you're the go-to guy.
Right.
So, and those are two of the more inexpensive classes. So, once you kind of establish yourself as, this is the path you're going to take,
Right.
Being assigned to a special ops station, you'd be able to, get approved for the county to send you, pay for those classes.
Got you.
The more expensive classes are the hazmat tech and the structural collapse. Those are.
Got you.
So I would hold off on those.
Yeah, I can see how those. I know I do know the first of the year I was talking to, I think it was Sean King who was telling me that Valencia usually runs the whole list of classes usually around the first of the year. So, but yeah, so I'm looking into it. I just don't know which way. Besides, like I said, besides the VMR, that's next month. So,
man, Sean King is he's a beast, and what a cool guy, man.
He is a good dude.
He is so knowledgeable and so willing to help people get better. But he's definitely no nonsense.
Right. Yeah.
One thing I could recommend to you, and actually I could lend this to you, is The Rescue Company by Ray Downey.
Okay.
This guy's son is the chief of special operations for FDNY right now.
Oh, wow.
Ray Downey.
Okay. Gotcha.
This guy is this guy is a legend.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that, the rescue company in a lot of departments, it's a heavy rescue that does all the technical rescue stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's what this book is about.
Yeah, that's what I figured it I looked at it.
On that note, on my website, hollenbachleadership.com, if you go to the learning materials page, I have some embedded links that you can click on and download different pieces of learning material. And one of the documents on there is the forcible entry SOP for FDNY.
Gotcha.
And it's a good document, man, and it spells it out really good. And I have a reading list on there as well. I know you've got a lot ahead of you. Probably don't have a whole lot of time to get to reading, but when you start looking for something to read, take a look at that list.
I will.
And then if you have any recommendations for that list, please let me know, because I want to update the list regularly with any recommendation. We've talked about a lot of stuff. We've covered a lot of ground. Is there anything about you or anything about leadership that we haven't touched on that you believe would be important for maybe some up and coming firefighters, or even just even fire officers that are leadership doesn't come naturally to everybody.
Right.
And there are steps that people can take to really develop their abilities as a leader. And
you said a mouthful when you said that, that leadership doesn't come naturally to everybody. It doesn't, but everybody has the opportunity to control their own actions. So you don't have to, and I know a lot of references goes back to football. We had a guy, Eric James, who was like the third string tight end, real solid dude, never said anything, never talked. But he just carried himself a certain way. And I can remember maybe twice in 4 years in college that he ever said, "Hey, fellas, let's go." But when he said that, everybody went on 10 because they knew that he doesn't talk. So for him to have to say something, like stuff had really gotten, had went right or went left. So that to go back to that is that like when you lead, you don't have to say anything. You can just do. The most powerful thing you can get is somebody who just continually do. I know tons of leaders who just tons of captains that I've had in football who just talked all day, just talk like, "Why don't you shut up? Just go out and go make a play, man." And that's literally how I was. I mean, I was a captain for, I don't know, 8 years or so, and my 90% of the time, my fourth quarter speech was, "Hey, fellas, I'm going to make a play. Y'all coming with me." That's it. Like, that's it. And let's go just go do it. Whatever it is you have your aspirations of doing, you can lead by an example. That phrase is so overutilized and underdone.
Yeah, I would agree with
And
that.
just do it. You look in the fire service, for an example, think about the things that firefighters are supposed to do, and the lieutenants in your station is doing it too. Like that makes the firefighter be like, "Dang, man, LT's even doing that. Like, I need to step my game up." I mean, whatever the case may be with it, and just lead by that. Just lead by that lifestyle. Your lifestyle will speaks tons, and people will follow people like that. People will do. So now when that person does say something, the words mean more at that than the ones that just always, rah rah. I was never that guy. I was never, like, I know when I messed up.
Yeah.
So yelling at me does nothing. Like I literally look right through you when you yell at me. Now, if you talk to me and tell me what I did and how it affected something, then now you got me. Because now Jay Gruden was the best at that with me. He just knew me. He is a yeller, but he knew me, and he knew that all he had to say was, "Hey, Marlon, we needed that," and he knew that hurt more than anything. And, more than anything, all you had to do was say, because when you yell, it does nothing, and that's anybody in general.
So something you just said ties directly to effective leadership. Is Jay Gruden knew you.
Mm-hmm.
And I firmly believe that as a leader, you have a responsibility to know your people, to know what motivates them, to know how they measure success for themselves.
Right.
And your job is to help them achieve that success. That being said, we're talking about all this stuff, actions, um, and I want to share a story with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think I told you that I wrote a book.
Yeah, you told me.
I haven't published it yet, but one of the things that I talk about in there, one of the things that I address is, well, not one of the things. I address multiple failures that I've had in my life.
Mm-hmm.
One of them being something that occurred last year, and I'm not going to get into the details, but I know that my reputation as a battalion chief and as a leader in the department was a very good reputation, and I would mentor people and set expectations and talk about how, actions speak louder than words.
Mhm.
And my actions were not consistent with the message that I was relaying through my words. And that led to some personal and professional failures that it's very humbling. I let a lot of people down, myself in particular, but family, close friends, people on the department that that held me in high regard. And I can tell you that that experience has opened my eyes to something that I just wasn't aware of before. There was a decision point. There was a point where I knew I had one of two directions to go, and I chose this direction, and I knew better, but it felt good, you know.
Mhm.
In the moment, it felt good. There's that part in everybody where it's real easy to make a decision that is going to give you immediate gratification.
No doubt. No
And
doubt.
and it's in that moment that there has to be that tactical pause where you say, okay, maybe nobody will ever find out about this, but if they do, is it something that I can be proud of?
Which is
And
hard in a lot of cases. Which is hard.
in my book, I share that, and I share a lot of the lessons that I've learned, because all of those failures, what I've come to find is there is an opportunity. There's an opportunity to learn from it, and there's an
Mhm.
opportunity to share that lesson with other people so they don't make the same mistakes that I did.
Right.
And
Right.
if I can add value to one person because I went through that, then maybe the hardship, or the negative experience that came from my actions,
Hmm.
whatever discomfort I felt, it wasn't for nothing.
For sure.
So, and on that note, I was just wondering if there's anything that comes to your mind, a lesson that you've learned from one of your mistakes, something humbling that serves as an example to other people that our mistakes don't define us. It's the
Right. Right.
actions, it's the actions that we take to correct those mistakes that define us. Sometimes it takes people their entire life to learn that lesson.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some people don't learn that lesson, and they suffer internally for a long time
You're
because
right.
of regrets and that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
um, I mean, it's if you're comfortable sharing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was literally the changing point in my life. My junior year in college, the end of my junior year. So, end of my junior year, I was like, going into it preseason, all ACC had just came off, second team all ACC was doing well. My dad used to tell me stuff all the time. He used to tell me about perception. So I was at that time a typical, you know, inner city kid, do rag, pants hanging halfway around my butt, just that whole stereotypical um inner city kid. And he used to tell me that all the time. And I literally used to tell him, man, like, don't worry about me. Don't worry about what I'm doing. I'm thinking, I'm the starter on a Division I football team. You know, leading the team, leading the defense. Making plays. I'm on TV every Saturday, so I felt like literally I was invincible during that time. And I used to do a lot of stuff that I wasn't, very proud about. But one in particular, I got in trouble and ended up getting arrested, which actually almost stopped me from getting the job here. And I got arrested for some assault and some other things. But it was like every time. somebody would Google me or whatever, it was like the first 2 or 3 lines. It's way back in Google now, but and that's what people really looked at me like that, as kind of a bully, thug, quote unquote. And it took a while to get over it. And I would say probably 2006, maybe 7, somewhere around there. Like I came to myself, and it took me to, like, everybody that I can think of that I offended, that I um, wronged in some particular way. Like, I was calling people, or and telling them, I'm sorry. I found out a lot of stuff about myself through them that I didn't even know that's how I was. And what I found out is that the people that I was around, as in like my teammates, like, I was respected me as, not from the outside stuff that I did, from everything that I did within the team and how much I brought team into play. So that being said, that getting arrested and like being on the other side of the bars was like, I'm not ever coming here ever again. This is not, I'm not supposed to be here. This is not how my parents, raised me to be. This is not what I know. But the learning experience I had from that combined it with moving to Lake Mary. So growing up, Aliquippa, and you talked about before, was it was more separate, So I grew up around all Black people. My high school was all Black. My middle school was all Black. We had, I don't think my high school had any diversity since like the 70s. My principal was Black. My vice principal was Black. We had like 6, white teachers. Our Spanish teacher was like Creole. so, um, so we like, I just didn't know. Like, I didn't know it was more than the small bubble that I lived in. And so when I moved to Lake Mary, I met a guy, Cal Sivars. I was talking to the parents while we were out there. I was coaching the kids and in the practice, talking to the parents. And Cal had walked past me, and he walked behind me and just kind of gently just like pulled my shorts up. And when he did it, it didn't say, remember I talked about the little things, right? Like, that stuck with me. In that moment, I was like, that's the perception my dad was talking about. That, like I said, so getting in trouble, I learned the lesson that, hey, listen, I shouldn't be doing this stuff. I now, again, was I mad at anybody else because of it? No, because like, I'm the one that put myself in this situation. And then when I got to Lake Mary, I realized that there's people looking at you. And like, I don't want to give a bad impression. Like, I never even went out in Lake Mary because I knew that I coached the kids, and I didn't want the parents to see me out, like, at a bar or whatever the case may be, just for that simple fact, because I knew there was a perception that I had. And the same stuff that I talk about here with leading is the same things that I teach the kids. Kid comes up to practice, mom's holding his helmet and shoulder pads. Mom, put his helmet and shoulder pads down. Those are your helmet and shoulder pads. And you pick them up and you carry them. Well, I got my water bottle. Well, hey, who told you to bring all that stuff? Get a bag, put it in there, and like, that's yours. Just the simple things. I think that the young athletes, should know. When we were training started at 3:00, and they came in at 3:02, 50 burpees, man. Well, because, nah, man, like, then come at 4, come at the 4:00 group. Don't be late. Don't be late. And it's no excuse for you being late. Now, okay, you had to go and talk to the teacher. That was held. Okay, all right, I got that. But you got out on time, and you didn't have anything. Like, you were just slow getting here. Oh, it's only 3:02. Yeah, it's only 3:02 when you're supposed to be here at 3:00. But anyway, those are the things that helped me change to who I am. And I go now back around some of my friends or people that I've seen from before, and they just talk about, man, like, dude, like, you're not even the same person. I was like, well, I mean, first of all, like, I'm married with kids now. So, like, I definitely couldn't be that way. But it's just that example of being able to, again, just kind of give an example to people. And am I perfect? I still, on a daily basis, stuff happening. I'm like, I probably shouldn't have said that, or I probably shouldn't have did that. But I understand, I shouldn't. And I just try to just try to be better every day. And that life in general, I try to keep in that life, back then, which I suppressed that whole demon of anger. So, and that's all it was. It was just being angry. You couldn't even find pictures of me smiling until I was probably like, well, when I first got my first big contract playing football, probably as like 2006. The picture that you take before the season, I smiled in that picture. Like, I never smiled. Like, I just had nothing to smile about. Like, it was, everything was serious for me. But yeah, so, that getting in trouble and getting arrested in college for that, that bar fight, which I could have 100% avoided. And I don't know what my life would have been, but I look at it on the other side that if I would not have, and I wouldn't have the two beautiful daughters I have, wife I have now, I would have never met them. So the path, you said it earlier with your quote that your what you wrote down back in January, that your path that you go was just going to make you better, and you got to learn from those paths. Every day I learn from something that I didn't do the right way. So hope that answered your question, or
Yeah,
I
man.
go too far.
No, that was awesome. Dude, I really, really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me.
Oh yeah, not a problem.
And
I mean, you're one of the guys I really respect, Chief. You're there. You're always there for us. You always stand up. From the first day. We talked about that first day. I mean, we tried to talk 4 or 5 times, but those tones just wouldn't stop. So, and you set me off on the right foot. From being at 81 and what to expect and whatnot. Oh man, speaking of right foot, you asked earlier about people. This wasn't at 81 though. It was Tim Easter. Lieutenant Easter was the first lieutenant I had. He was the one who really, really like set the ball in motion. Every rookie comes in and have that first speech. Hey, what should I do? Well, what do you expect from me? And his words were, I don't expect anything because you don't know anything, but I do expect you to do your job. So he was like, you should, what you need to know, you should know. And he said, and when it's too many calls and you want to complain, quit. Like, that was our first talk. He was like, dude, like, you're here to run calls. So that hands down prepared me for 81 because we run calls. But yeah, just some of the things he, Lieutenant Easter had said to me, and setting that ball rolling. He was a integral part of keeping me, grounded and keeping me focused on the job at hand. So, I ran some other guys who didn't have that type of leadership as their first lieutenant.
That's good. Yeah, I worked with Tim Easter when I was a firefighter.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he was the lieutenant at 58 way back when, and I was assigned to 51.
Oh, okay.
I was assigned to 51, and every once in a while I'd get floated over there to 58 and work for him. And yeah, that's a cool dude.
Yeah, he was. I had him when he was on his way out, so he was trying to impart jewels into people and just to make the department better, on his way out. So,
like I said, I really appreciate you taking the time to
thank you.
this was a great conversation, man.
Mm.
I got to learn a little bit more about you, and I wish you all the best moving forward. Like
Sir,
I mean, I have no doubts that you're going to be a superstar. I mean,
I hope so.
you're you're a badass, man, and you are an example for a lot of the younger guys. So even though you're one of the more junior people, you stand out, and I would embrace that, man. You know,
Yes, sir.
all right, man. Well, you have a good
Uh,
rest. Have a good weekend, and
yes, sir. You
I'll
too.
talk to you soon.
All right, Chief. Have a good one. Thanks again.
You too, man.
Thank you for listening to this episode of From Embers to Excellence. Please visit hallenbachleadership.com for additional content. Dave's goal is to add value to as many people as possible. So if he can be of any assistance to you or someone you know, please connect with him via email or on one of his social media accounts, linked on the homepage of his website. Remember, our failures don't define us unless we let them. And the only true measure of a leader is the success of their team.